Welcome, everyone. This is Ryan Stevens with Win the Race. I just wanted to do a quick video showing you how to utilize the NASCAR DFS lineup picker that we created for the 2026 season. So, everything inside of this is what you usually see in our DFS projections page. So, you'll have still your point, ceiling, floor, optimal, all that stuff. And if you want to use that in any optimizer, you can. You would just click this here and it instantly downloads everything you see here. So you can still do that in your own optimizers if you choose to do so. What the lineup picker will do is choose from the 100,000 optimal lineups or outcomes that came from our simulations. So it's not necessarily 100,000 different lineups because some of the lineups were optimal more than once. And when we have our outputs here, you'll see that. So this is just kind of cool. You can play with this almost however you want. I'll go over one of the builds that I did that ended up winning me one of the tournaments at Phoenix. And so what I did was you kind of just mess around with this, and I'll tell you what each thing means. And I'll just tell you as we go. That'll probably be easiest. So what I wanted to make sure that I had was I wanted at least one driver. Excuse me. So the min group drivers per lineup, I want at least one of these drivers in every lineup. That's what this is going to be about. And for me, I'll just sort it by price here, the easiest. I wanted at least, that'll be the group bar here. I wanted at least one of Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, or Kyle Larson. Those were my guys that I thought would end up leading the most laps in this race. So I want one of those no matter what. Then I don't want any other driver in this whole thing besides these guys. This global max exposure won't affect what you're doing here if you're locking a driver or anything like that. This is just for every other driver included in your set. I don't want anyone over 45%. I just don't want to be overexposed on anybody in a race like this, especially when I do want to be overexposed on the guys I really love. And I don't want to be exposed on guys that, we see a lot of lucky finishes, things like that. I want to have some exposure to those drivers just in case something happens. So I'll put 45 max exposure for everybody else. And then I want to use the anchor system. And the anchor system is really cool because this is different than locking a driver or your groups, really. I mean, this is how many of the best lineups from each driver do you want in there? And it'll never dupe it too. It'll have, so what I did was I wanted, and I didn't make 150 in that tournament. I only made 17, but I'll do this for, MME purposes, 150. So say I want at least 75 of Denny Hamlin's best lineups. And then for the rest of them, I'll just put 25. I want all the championship drivers. So I want to at least have some exposure to all of them. We didn't really like Chase Briscoe after practice and qualifying, but you know how those championship drivers roll. So we want him in there a little bit. Now the reason I'll put Byron so low and Hamlin so high, Hamlin's on the pole. And then I'm just looking at these projections and the price. It's going to have more Byron anyways, and it'll have some lineups with Byron and Hamlin anyway. So even though I'm putting 25 William Byron, that just means I'm going to get 25 of his best lineups. He'll also be in even better lineups because he'll be paired. He'll have some lineups with Larson. He'll have some lineups with Hamlin. So he's going to be a lot more owned than 25% here, and you'll see that in a second. So now I think I'm ready to rock and roll. I didn't want to lock one guy into all my lineups, so I'm going to leave that free. And I kind of want to just build like this and see what we get. I have my max exposure set. I got 150 lineups. Now, what's really cool is you can come down here and just hit preview exposures. And you can see it's building and building your exposure preview over here. And what it's doing is just looking through the 100,000 outcomes, and it's actually sorting them too. So when two different lineups have been optimal, say two different lineups were optimal 20 times each, it's still going to rank that out, and the one with the best average score is going to rank above the other one. So when you're limiting these lineups, you have no fear in your mind that it's always selecting the best optimal lineups possible for you. All right, so now here's our exposure. You can see it worked. Briscoe at least 25 times. Really, that pumped him up to 25 because he probably wasn't going to be included in anything else without me doing that. So I have 25 of his best lineups. Larson too doesn't have a ton of him. Boom. Hamlin the most exposed to. That's what I wanted. I wanted, him on the pole. Think he's going to lead a lot of laps. That's the guy that we wanted the most of. Then William Byron, we loved him in practice. And then you start getting down here. So if you don't like things like, I didn't like Ty Gibbs 42%. Never works out. So I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to scroll down to Ty Gibbs and I'll limit him. This is a max exposure column. I'm going to limit him to 35. So I'll just type 35 in there. Who else always stinks for us? Cole Custer. Boom. 40%. Not in this house. So we go down to Cole Custer. I'm going to bump him down to 25% max. Other than that, things are looking pretty good. Um, let's just run it again. So now that we've done that, you don't need to change anything else. Hit preview exposures again. It's going to build it again. And when we get our exposures back here, we'll kind of see where we're at. And if we want to continue, we'd hit the download CSVs button, and then I'll show you those. And this should only take a second here. It does have a lot of lineups to go through and a lot of lineups to sort. So it isn't something that happens instantly. All right. So this worked. Um, all the top exposure guys look good. It bumped Ty Gibbs down to 33%. Love to see that. Cole Custer down to 24. Gilly up over 30%. I love that. So once I love what I'm seeing here, up and down, it's got no, scrubs. They're not going to be optimal in our simulations anyways. So looking good there. Let's download these and then I can show you how those look and what you're looking at. And again, no instant way to do this. It's got to kind of do it again real quick and then spit the CSVs out for you. It's going to be 3 downloads. One will be an overall exposures, which is just an exact copy of what you see here. And then the rest are going to be your lineups that you upload and the top lineups. So I'll go to these here real quick. First, we'll pull up the exposures. Again, that's just a copy of what you saw right there. How many lineups are in out of the 150, their total exposure. Then we'll go to, this is your lineups. So you can see this is what you'd actually export to DraftKings, and I'll show you that in a second here. And this is the top lineup. So this is where you can see how it sorted them out for you. So looking down through this, you can tell on the top here, this is my Denny Hamlin build. So it'll do all my Denny Hamlin lineups, and you can see how it's counting down how many times these were optimal in the times column here. And as we go further down, you can see Denny's block ends. And it looks like, judging by how little this is, it's going to be Larson or Briscoe. There's Larson. So yeah, this looks like the Larson build here in this block. Then we get to the Byron build here in this block. And then we eventually get to the Briscoe build in this block right here. And you can see over here when lineups are optimal, same amount of times, it'll still sort it out for you in the proper order based on this average score that they had when they were optimal. So pretty cool stuff here. And then the other great thing too is you can you can sanity check this and just look at all these lineups here. And if we try to find any duplicates, you're not going to find them. So everything's working properly. So you don't need to worry about it, not doing everything it's supposed to do for you. The last part of this would be, how do you upload these lineups onto DraftKings? So if I go back to DraftKings real quick, obviously there's no NASCAR slate open right now, but we have an NFL lineup, so we'll just use that. You go up to lineups, click lineups, brings up this page. I like to click on entries on the bottom of the lineup, load the lineup, and then like just my placeholder, and then it brings up all the contests that you can possibly pick for that thing, and then you can just mass enter whatever you want to enter into. So that's kind of how I like start every week, see what I want to get into, what I don't want to get into, and join there. Once you have that and you're on the lineups page, they'll all be listed here. You're going to want to go up to, there's view exposure, upload lineups, edit entries, or swap players. You want edit entries. So click on edit entries and it brings up download entries. You just use this drop down, pick NASCAR, hit download, and it'll bring up, your entries for that contest. So I'm only in one, so far, my little home league. Uh, and what you're going to do is take those lineups that you had for NASCAR. You can copy and paste them. Go right back into here and just put them under. These will all be D, 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 6Ds right there. Just paste them right underneath. Save it. For this purpose, I'll hit save. Then you go back to the right here, upload entries. You just click upload CSV. It'll be your last downloaded thing right there, DK entries, whatever. Double click it. Successfully uploaded 101 or however many lineups you had. Boom. Go back to lineups. They'll all be listed there. So it takes no time at all to enter however many lineups you want to enter. Just super fast. If anyone has any questions on that, just let me know and I can go over that again. Back to the lineup picker here. If you want to, switch anything up here, you can click reset. That'll get rid of everything that you've entered into the bottom here, but it does not clear the top. You got to always go back. If you want different groups, you want different lineup exposure, you got to change those things on top. What I'll do is just a completely different build just to show you. So say I want 50% max exposure and I'm only making 20 lineups and I want to say I want to lock Denny Hamlin on the pole. I'm just going all in on Denny Hamlin. So this is going to make sure he's in every lineup. It'll take his 20 best while following these rules. So basic here. I just want Denny Hamlin all 20 lineups, nobody with him more than 50% of the time. Let's see what we get. Preview exposures. When this comes back, it should have Denny at 100% and nobody else over 50% at all. And then we can change that max exposure on guys that we don't trust as soon as this thing loads here. Then try it again, and you basically just do it until you have what you want. But the main thing is here, we want to make sure this works and does everything properly. And boom, there it did. 20 for Denny Hamlin at 100%. Nobody more than 10 lineups with him. And again, here, for me personally, thinking the same rules. Like I would bump Gibbs down, I would bump Custer down. People I don't trust, maybe Haley down a little bit. So, I mean, essentially, I kind of like McDowell at 50 though, so I probably wouldn't change the global max exposure. I would just go to the max exposure column, change the guys I want lower, hit preview again, download them, same old story. So the cool thing about this is you can use this for 3 max, for 20 max, for if you're doing 100, if you're doing 300 lineups, just do 150 builds, whatever you want to do. There's no limit here. There are so many lineups to choose from. You can see even the top optimal lineups, period, are duped less than 60 or 70 times. So I mean, there's a lot of lineups to choose from. The beauty of this is that it's using our simulations. Our results have spoken for themselves over the years. So there's enough to play around with here too, where I wouldn't be worried that you're going to dupe everybody. If our top lineups end up being the best, yeah, we're probably going to dupe in some tournaments, but who cares? Our lineups were the best. So at that point, I don't care. But beyond that, you got to go down the list a little bit to get to those type of things. So I think if we pull back up the top lineups, I'll pull up lineups for. I'll pull up the exposures for the top lineups group. That's what I'll pull up here just to show you what had won. So I'll just sort it by, how many times these lineups were optimal in that build that I did. I'll search for Blaney because I know he was in the best one that won the money for me. Let's see where he is. So that was a Blaney, Bell, Hamlin. There it is. So that lineup right there that's highlighted was the one that, won that tournament for me. So didn't have to go too far down the list. But still, even in that, I know it wasn't a big tournament, and this wasn't out then, but wasn't duped. So I mean, you can find paths to just be solo here without putting crazy minimum and maximum salary used exposures. The reason I left that out is because I don't want you to take away from using the best lineups. Sometimes, you kick yourself if you limit how much you're spending in salary on any given slate. So Yeah, this has no rules like that. So when we get to a super speedway and you don't care about leaving X amount on the table, it's going to do that for you anyways. It doesn't care how much salary is left at any given point. It's just giving you the best lineups based on the rules you gave it that were optimal in our 100,000 simulations. So I hope this video helps. I just wanted it to be kind of quick overview of the product. Keep testing it. Tell me if you run into any errors, issues, anything like that. Still something that we're working on. This is just version one, but it's beyond the beta version. It's live. It'll work. We can upload everything once the season starts. So admin at wintherace.info if you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, or DM me on X at Ryan Stevens WTR. Thank you again, and let's have a fun season.